And so I'd like to welcome you for coming today to this special time. It's taken many years for us to be heard, and we finally have Catherine. Oh, if anybody doesn't know me, my name is Sister Jean Massaris. I work at Misericordia. As I reflected on today's program, I wanted us to see this beautiful statue come alive, to see Catherine as she lived. I wanted us to know Catherine's heart and passion, so that when we sit by this likeness, we feel her and we feel her presence. So I'm going to quote from a book, A Woman Sings of Mercy, by Sister Mary Carmel Burke. And I quote, Sister Vincent Whitty, who had such an intimate relationship with Catherine during the last weeks of Catherine's life, wrote years later, if you had known her, how you would have loved her and venerated her, and still be as familiar with her as with an intimate friend. I have often wished that her lovely character could be photographed for the admiration and instruction of posterity. This is really a true likeness. It's beautiful. It seems to me that words are slow and imperfect in conveying the lineaments of that gifted soul. She was so humble, yet dignified, so playful and witty, yet reserved and charitable, so pious and strict, yet amiable and kind. But to me at least, the climax of her attractions was that she was always the same, always ready to listen. I continue quoting. One of Catherine's great gifts was the power she had to impart peace of heart to her sisters and to lead them, even in sorrow, to a deeper trust in God by the strength of her own trust in Him. When a very young sister died in Limerick, she gave hope to the grieving sisters by writing in a very gentle, loving letter of sympathy, some great thing which He designed to accomplish would have been too much with a little bitter of cup. In lesser trials, in the rough journeys by road and canal and sea, and in the poverty of the early foundations, the same cheerful optimism shone out. She looked back on them later with affection. Oh, these happy, hard times. She wrote to Dublin in genuine amusement of the hardships of the first foundation in Tullamore. She said, rooms so small 2 cats could scarcely dance there. Catherine possessed great resilience of spirit, and her letters are full of delightful flashes of humor and witty anecdotes. Even when bone-weary from exhausting travel and failing health, she could raise the spirits of the sisters with a few cheerful words, and at the same time hide her own suffering from them. She would say, nothing like foundations for rousing us all. That's just a snippet of Catherine, her humor, her compassion. That's what I hope you see. Yesterday, we had a call from a young woman. Her name is Christy Kunzman. She's a current student who is out on a clinical experience in Baltimore, and she shared her thoughts when she learned of the Catherine statue coming. Because a woman paved the way in pursuit of in the heart of Christ, so many opportunities have come my way. Education, service, mentorship, conferences, understanding the importance of justice, a new respect for Catholicism, a community that pushes me to do better, the roof that is currently over my head, and the list could go on forever. And when she talks about the roof going over her head, she talked to one of our sisters in Baltimore and let her know that she had to leave the apartment she was in and was looking for a place to live for the rest of her work in Baltimore. She now has a roof over her head because she's living with the sisters in Baltimore. So she said, I am so thankful for Misericordia, so thankful for Catherine, as we all are. And so we will continue with our program. And I would ask Dr. Tom Boatsman, president of Misericordia, if he would come to speak.
Well, good morning. We're so fortunate to have so many of you. I wrote that. I didn't know that was going to be so true. So many of you here today to celebrate the arrival of Catherine McAuley to our campus. Please join me in thanking the donors, the Mercy Associates. Who are the Mercy Associates in the crowd? We've got quite a few. The Mercy Associates, the Sisters of Mercy. We have some Sisters of Mercy here today. Quite a few sisters. Come on, you can. We know who you are. And our campus community for making this possible. I was asked to say a few words today, but I've been somewhat at a loss as what I can personally add to this wonderful celebration. A former longtime resident of Mercy Center, who wasn't a Mercy sister, and who moved out of Mercy Center about 2 years ago and recently settled into a new home, gave me some inspiration and some words about Catherine that echo the thoughts I've heard from the Sisters of Mercy. So to begin, I'd like to read to you not a letter from Catherine, but a letter to Catherine McAuley. November 6, 2019. My dear Catherine, welcome to Misericordia University. Although I only arrived recently, it's quite clear that this is a campus captured by charism, the divine gifts we have received, and that all is well with the students and those who carry on the good works in this wonderful community. I'm quite sure you will enjoy seeing them as they travel about the campus and Mercy Center. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your grand celebration. I shall observe quietly from a distance, but do know I am with you. Our good friend Albino Luciani wrote a letter to me and had some very nice things to say. He wrote, and I quote, "This is Teresa of a practical life, who experiences our same difficulties and knows how to overcome them deftly, who knows how to laugh and make others laugh, who moves through the world in the most various vicissitudes with ease, thanks to her abundant natural talents, but more because of her constant union with God. Honestly, my dear Catherine, I must admit he may be mixing the two of us up, as his words describe you most perfectly. I hope we can speak with each other most often, and to all those who are in our learning community. Though our beloved Misericordia University is almost 100 years old, we certainly continue to have our occasional difficulties and new challenges in these modern days. But we shall get it done. As I said many years ago, Teresa alone is worth nothing. Teresa and a penny are worth less than nothing. And Teresa, a penny, and God can do anything. I know you've done so much for so many, especially for the women and the children, and will continue to do so. Moreover, I must add a word of caution based on my beliefs and observations accumulated over hundreds of years. For the love of God, take care what you do. Never believe the nuns, because if they want something, they try it by every possible means. I'm so pleased that you heard and followed the calling of the founders of the Sisters of Mercy, as the founders of the Sisters of Mercy. I trust our friends and colleagues at Misericordia University will continue to try every possible means to serve those in need, following to perfection the lead of Mother Teresa Walsh and your beloved Sisters of Mercy. My dear Catherine, we are now fixed permanently as ongoing symbols of the living and ongoing dreams of the Sisters of Mercy in founding College Misericordia. As a walking nun, you may find that somewhat difficult. I do recall that at your passing you requested that your shoes be burned in recognition that your work as a walking Sister of Mercy was now complete. Please do remember my words. Christ has no body but mine. He prays in me, works in me, looks through my eyes, speaks through my words, works through my hands, walks with my feet, and loves with my heart. Please understand that while our days of walking may be over, we do get to witness the steps taken by all who are welcomed here as they live the charisms of mercy, service, justice, and hospitality. Enjoy each day in this place, this Misericordia, this heart of mercy. It is my hope that those who will pass by will stop and share their dreams with you, and on occasion join the sisters for a good cup of tea. Yours in mercy, Teresa Sanchez de Cepeda de Ahumada, also known as, obviously, St. Teresa of Avila. As you know, the statue of Catherine McAuley just arrived on Monday, and some of you got to see Catherine fly for a few moments as she came into her special place on campus. Catherine joined St. Teresa of Avila, for whom College Misericordia, Villa St. Teresa, was named, honoring our foundress, Mother Teresa Walsh's patron saint. Teresa's statue, which is on the grounds of Mercy Center for many years, was damaged in a storm many years ago. If you want to see pictures, I can show you a few of Teresa after the fight she had with the tree, and Teresa lost. She went in for some extensive physical therapy, and if you come back this way and look just past the trees as you walk into the breezeway that connects McAuley Hall to Mercy Hall, Teresa is back there watching us right now. She's kind of peeking out from behind the bush, so you'll have to look for her a little bit. So we were thrilled to have her come and join us, and to have soon after have the arrival of Catherine McAuley. I again want to thank all the Sisters of Mercy, the Mercy Associates, and everyone from our local community, the local churches, the campus community, for joining us today to welcome Catherine to campus. And after 95 years, she's finally come home. So thank you. Go Cougars.
Whoops. Okay. Good afternoon. It's lovely to see everybody today. Thank you for coming out for this very special dedication and blessing. I have the distinct honor and privilege and joy of coming to work here every single day. In my role here as Director of Admissions, I get to witness and participate in our charisms, mercy, service, justice, and of course, primarily in my role, hospitality. I'm often inspired by the people I meet here and the stories I hear here. And in that vein, I'd just like to talk with us a little bit today about the spirit of hospitality and some inspiration that I've recently received. In order to properly frame my thoughts, though, I just need to make quick reference to some Irish Catholic history. History tells us of a time during the 18th century when Irish Catholics were forbidden to practice faith, attend Mass, or receive education. When it became illegal for priests to perform a Mass, Irish families lit candles to attract the attention of those priests, who would then come to their homes to offer sacrament and to bless the family. In turn, the Irish families offered hospitality. By placing these candles in the windows, the Irish people held true to their faith and culture in the face of British persecution against the Catholic Church in Ireland. It was faith that enabled the Irish to triumph over persecution. So as we reflect on Catherine's legacy today, we recognize and witness that same faith, the enduring spirit of our beloved sisters as they embarked on their mission here in Dallas, Pennsylvania, to form minds and spirits of young women so they too could face the world with confidence and commitment. Our sisters faced obstacles, and they knew prejudice which was due to ignorance of the Catholic faith rather than hatred of the sisters. A quote from At the Edge of Centuries, College Misericordia, 1913 to 1999. One of the sisters said, "We did everything in our power to make visitors comfortable." It is in this spirit of mercy hospitality. The candles will now be displayed in our admissions windows, ever reminding us to continue sharing the legacy of Catherine and the Religious Sisters of Mercy, a place where all are welcome. One of my favorite quotes is Catherine saying, "While we place all our confidence in God, we must act as if all depended on ourselves." Thank you. Enjoy the day. Mitchell Rock will now, one of our students, address the group.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mitchell Rock, and I'm a third-year DPT student at Misericordia. And first, I would like to thank everyone for coming out today for this memorable event in dedication to our Sister of Mercy, Catherine McAuley. And I'm honored to have been asked to share my thoughts on the importance of this symbol, as I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to spend time with and learn from the Sisters of Mercy in Dublin, Ireland, 3 years ago. A handful of students from Misericordia were selected to participate, along with our sister schools, in coming to learn about the critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy, our school's heritage, and how to become more effective leaders in our communities. Most of my group, who created the framework for this dedication, have since graduated, but they were very excited to hear that the plan has officially been put into action, and they send their blessings. I had started the journey to Bagot Street knowing precious little about both the group that I was traveling with or Catherine McAuley, but I returned home with amazing new friends and a newfound admiration for Misericordia. I found that I was not alone in my ignorance of Catherine's accomplishments, and my naivety was shared with most of the students arriving to this National Conference of Mercy. But nonetheless, the sisters welcomed us with open arms, teaching us about the organization and leading workshops on how to tackle some of the most pressing problems in today's society. We discussed the critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy, having in-depth panel discussions on how they work passionately to eliminate poverty, the widespread denial of human rights, the degradation of the earth, the increase in violence and racism, the continued oppression of women, to prevent the abuse of children and the mistreatment of immigrants, and really in total to just promote the solidarity of all people. And this resonated with me as a student because Misericordia works towards those ideals through creating a community based on our charisms of mercy, service, justice, and hospitality. And the most impressive experience, I think, was the tomb of Catherine McAuley, located in the middle of a beautiful and expansive garden of yellow roses. And this was the spot where the sisters would come to pray, reflect, and calm themselves from the trials of the day. And we spent as much time as we could in that garden with the limited time that we had on Bagot Street. And so, in an effort to bring back the teachings of the sisters and inspire Misericordia students to carry out Catherine's mission of mercy, we came up with an idea to create our own miniature replica of the garden that we so adored back in Dublin. And we hope that this space will grow into a place where students can come to escape the stressors of college life, really reflect on what it means to carry out Catherine's mission, and to learn about the great works of a woman who made it possible to be a proud Misericordia Cougar. Thank you.
Good morning. I have the honor of sharing some thoughts and reflections from our artist, fellow Sister of Mercy, Sister Marie Henderson. And just before I do that, I know this is being live streamed, by the way, so Maria, if you're watching, take this in. Sister Jean and I had the pleasure of having a whirlwind 24 hours with Sister Marie. She drove the piece in herself from Michigan, which she does for every spot which someone has commissioned a piece. And it's so personal to her as an artist, but also as a Sister of Mercy, that she wants to do that, and she oversees the installation. So Monday, when Catherine arrived here on campus, we spent the 3 hours it took to install her with Sister Marie, and she knows everything about all the hardware and all that needs to go into installation. But I have to tell you, when I knew what she looked like because we chose her, and I have seen her before. But when she was taken out of the vehicle and unwrapped, it was so emotional. And Jane and I both had tears in our eyes. And it was what we felt, but it was for all of us as Sisters of Mercy and all of us who hold the mission of mercy close to our hearts. We live with her spirit every day. It's what we give our lives to. But to have this reminder, it's a powerful reminder of what we are to live. And it felt like a long time coming, and we're so grateful. So, and Marie herself, if you've met, some of the sisters might have met her, but she has a little glint in her eye, and she just has a tender, kind presence. And I felt she puts that into her work, and she exudes Catherine. So it was a privilege to be with her. So I will share her remarks right now. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to share a few thoughts about your new sculpture of Catherine McAuley. In the summer of 1983, a Sister of Mercy gave me the book, Catherine McAuley, in Her Own Words, by Sister Angela Bolster. It changed my life. At the time, I was not in the Mercy community. I was teaching art at Mercy High School in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and had been given the challenge by my principal to create, quote, something for the west entrance. Those two experiences combined to change my life. I was so impressed and touched by the book that described the life of Catherine McAuley that it seemed a given that I would create a sculpture of the foundress of the Sisters of Mercy. I wanted those who would view this sculpture to see what I saw in Catherine, a woman who cared for the poor, sick, and uneducated in her world. I wanted them to see Catherine when she began her ministry. I hoped they would be attracted to a person who inherited considerable wealth and chose to share it with others in need. The description of Catherine McAuley in that book by a young female artist who would become one of the first Sisters of Mercy, Sister Claire Moore. It was clear and precise, right down to her square nails, blonde hair, and blue eyes. I hope the people would see the strength of Catherine, her kindness and determination, and especially her affection for all of God's people. 2 years after sculpting the first sculpture of Catherine McAuley, I entered the Sisters of Mercy. It was the very best decision of my life. Now, 36 years later, I am fortunate enough, with the support of my community, to be able to continue creating sculptures of Catherine and many others who have changed their world and the world that followed them for the better. Still now, Catherine's legacy continues to be alive in the ministry to which each of you have dedicated your time here at Misericordia. May you always know that when you come to this campus, there is a warm, affectionate smile waiting for you in the presence of Catherine McAuley. Thank you again, Sister Marie Henderson. So we're going to move into our blessing and dedication at this time. And if I know that we don't have enough, this is a wonderful turnout. In fact, we didn't prepare enough of these programs. So if you can distribute them in any way where you're sharing them, that would be great, as best we can. Okay? Where you see in the program, after the two readings on the second page in, it's a litany of gratitude. There will be 3 statements read, and after each one, you are all invited to respond with that response there. And then we will all participate in the blessing of Catherine. She'll be blessing us too, I know, at this point. The God of our past, our present, and our future, we are grateful today as we gather to celebrate not just a statue, but the person the statue commemorates, Catherine McAuley, Woman of Mercy. Her passion was to serve the poor, sick, and uneducated. If Vanessa Boatsman would come up. Oh, there she is. She'll do our first reading.
Morning. Catherine McAuley could have been insulated and isolated against the miserable poverty of Dublin. Instead, she recognized the call of the Spirit and accepted it with a grateful love and a willingness to put it at the service of others. As recipient of God's mercy, she saw herself as steward. Gifts given were gifts for others. Direct and practical in her response, she went out into gutter and garret to teach, to soothe, and to shelter. She had discovered that her charism, her gift for others, was mercy, a charism to the cutting edge of brokenness or imbalance. And that's from Tender Courage by Joanna Regan and Isabel Keese. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren, and I'm a staff member at Misericordia University, and I'm also a Mercy Associate. And I'll be reading a description of a woman of mercy by Mary Wickham, Sister Mary Wickham. Mercy is a woman of indeterminate age and remarkable appearance. She is not fussy about the company she keeps, and tends to be full of excuses for her friends, having seen life from their angle. Her heart, like her pockets, is capacious. She has a voice rich in tender understanding, but is at her best in silence when she sits alongside the grief-stricken and the guilty, and their sorrow seeps into her soul. Curiously, she sees herself reflected in the eyes of both the murderer and the victim. So she sits not in judgment, but companionably. She is a subtle teacher. She makes strong cups of tea, cup after cup. Her hands worn by work, but eagerly sought by the dying. Her feet are calloused from the long roads, trudged with refugee and beggar. She is an endurer of all horrors. Mercy has a face wrinkled with kindness and worn by cost of living, but even in hovels, she has been given to laughter and awareness of simple pleasures. She has a store of lore and wisdom, but is never heard to complain that she has heard any story 100 times before, believing each teller to be entitled to a hearing as if to the one and only. Mercy is a lady comfortable to be with, the safest and the soundest, blessed in her being with the indisputable reality that she is a true daughter in manner and mind of the maker of the universe. Thank you.
We'll continue with our litany. In gratitude for Catherine, woman of faith and woman unafraid to risk, we pray. Gracious God, we are grateful. In gratitude for all who walked the path of mercy from 1831 to today, including all the Sisters of Mercy who had the vision and determination to open what was originally called College Misericordia, a college to educate women. To all those along the way who helped transform us to the university we are today, we pray. Gracious God, we are grateful. And in gratitude for all the women and men of mercy here and around the world who with tenderness and fidelity have devoted themselves to the works of mercy, we pray. And so at this time, I would ask all of us to raise a hand in blessing and pray together.
This likeness of our beloved Catherine as a reminder to each of us on this mercy campus of our part in preserving and furthering the legacy of mercy, service, justice, and hospitality to all people. May Catherine's spirit inspire us to be true to our roots and serve those most in need with compassion and tender care.
Loving God, as we, women and men of mercy, rejoice in the abundance of grace as we continue to further the legacy of Catherine McAuley, we wish to renew our commitment to serving the poor, the sick, and the uneducated. Like Catherine, let us hear the pain and anguish of those who cry out for justice, and let us respond generously. Let us hearts be filled with compassion for the stranger and the outcast, and welcome them into our midst. Let us open our hearts to the cry of the earth, reverence and care for our common home. And we ask all this in the name of Catherine and Jesus, who by his life showed us the path of mercy. Let us go forth in joy and live in peace and be living examples of Catherine McAuley's example, that we all be one. Amen.
We thank you for coming to share this moment with us, and we cordially invite you to come through the main entrance to the entrance where the Sacred Heart statue is, where we are having a reception and some food to offer in hospitality. And so we hope that you will join us at this time.
Remind the sisters to stay.
Oh, and the sisters, you're supposed to stay until everybody's gone so that they can take our picture. Thank you for coming, but please do join us at the reception.